Hey everybody, welcome to American Idol Unaired. I'm your host, Bennett Shear, and I'm very honored and excited to bring you today's guest. He is the senior supervising talent and casting producer at Fremantle Media, Peter Cohen. How's it going, Peter?
It's going great. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much. And I have to ask, you started off in college radio. Here we are on a podcast, so naturally I'm curious, what was that like for you? Tell me about your experience in broadcasting.
First of all, before I start, I want to say thank you for your support of
Oh,
American
thank
Idol.
you.
It's fans and people like you that are keeping the name and the brand alive, and this community out there that's supporting us through the years and as we grow and evolve. And it's just great to have people talking about the show, discussing, debating, and we appreciate you and folks like you that are talking about our show and are just excited about it and continue to support us. So thank you very much.
Oh, thank you. That means a lot. I really appreciate that.
So yeah, starting from the early days. Yeah, I got my start in. I worked in college radio back in college in Massachusetts many years ago. College radio was a place where you could experiment with new music, and you could do a lot of different things like learn how to run the board, uh, produce the news, broadcast sporting events, and also be exposed to a lot of new music, especially independent music. This is pre-internet, so this was a place where you would go to find new music. And also, as a music fan and a lover of music, I would go and learn about new records and new artists coming through, and without a lot of pressure because it was college and it was non-profit and it was a lot of fun.
It is interesting thinking about how the models changed from sort of the live radio to now sitting here on a podcast. In some ways, it's the same because we're having a conversation. It's about connecting with an audience. I guess the technology is the only difference, right?
Right, and also, it was like if you didn't hear it, it was gone. So it didn't live on. It didn't live around. It didn't stick around. So you had to tune in, appointment listening. That's how it's changed in a lot of ways too. I mean, we did interviews like this with artists and all kinds of newsmakers at the time, but it was in the moment, and it did not live on anywhere else.
It sounds like your experience with broadcasting is what kind of exposed you to the music industry, and that's what led you to wanting to be a part of that. Is that correct?
Yeah, so they had these people come in that would drop off records, actual vinyl that were sort of promo copies from labels like Def Jam and Atlantic Records, and they were the college reps that were basically promo reps. So basically, they were dropping off new music that they were hoping to get played on our station, and we take them, we log them in, and we put them in the library, and you get to listen to them. But I also said, like, who are those guys? You know, what do they do? And they work for the record companies. So, and which was sort of the all-powerful source of music at the
Mm-hmm.
time. They were the main gatekeeper for what we hear and get exposed to. So it was just cool to see these guys coming in. A lot of times they had the jacket with the logo on it, and I just opened my eyes to like, hey, maybe there's people that work for these companies that produce and distribute and record the music, and that just got my interest up and made me explore more that possibility.
So, what was that next step to take that curiosity and ultimately you ended up working for your first record label? How did you get from point A to B once you were interested?
Again, you have to remember the time in the world at that point, but you basically to get your kind of foot in the door and learn, you had to get in there and just kind of like cold calling and sort of sending out resumes. And then basically, I took a class at UCLA Extension, which is a basically like a for a continuing education, and they had some people go in there and speak on about the music business.
Cool.
And I just went up to one of the speakers. He was a promoter from Universal Amphitheater, which is a big concert venue. And I said, "Hey, do you need any help? You need an intern?" And he said, "Sure, come by next week." And I worked for free. And then while I did that, I also connected with a record label, uh, Sony Music at the time, and basically they offered me an internship also, work for free. and just kind of learned and got my foot in the door. And after several months of working there, a position opened up, and I got to answer phones and get paid.
There must be so many lessons that you learned throughout the years working at labels, but do you remember one of the earliest lessons that you can think back on and think, okay, I'm here? Is there like an initial thing that you thought, okay, I'm picking up on this?
It moves really fast. Again, at the time, this is like where it was all happening. Inside of a record label it was like working for Google now, or a big tech company where all these ideas are happening, and it was exciting and fun, but you had to work really hard, and you had to really kind of sort of keep your mouth shut and just keep your head down and soak as much in as you could. To me, having never really had a quote kind of like been in an environment like that, you just had to kind of just soak it in and learn. But I mean, I can get into this. This might be getting ahead of myself, but one of the things I did learn was when people, and this is a good lesson for young people, is you definitely have to keep your mouth shut and work really hard. But if they do ask you your opinion or ask you a question, you should have something to say, because you don't know who is listening. Everybody has a value and comes from a certain place or a certain perspective. So for me, being sort of like early 20s at the time, and an older person at the company asking me, hey, what do you think of this? You should give an honest opinion, because they probably value what you're saying, because it's coming from a place of maybe you're the consumer they're trying to reach, or you're from a different time, place, or generation. So it helps to hear what you have to say. So when the time is right, ask questions, and then also have something to say.
Are there any moments you remember in particular hearing somebody play a song for you by an artist maybe that we know today, and you're thinking, wow, I was there hearing that song, and you got to give an opinion?
Epic Records was the label, and I mean, it was just like you could pick pretty any major label at the time, and they all had all the big, exciting artists going on. So just coming out of offices was like the new Rage Against the Machine or Celine Dion, this new artist Ben Folds at the time. I was working in the publicity department, which is basically the media relations. So we would basically service all of the traditional media. There was no new media then. Press, magazines, daily papers, weekly papers, and then also things like David Letterman, SNL. They're people that are actually working those media outlets to get your artist played. So, yeah, and you're looking at press photos and press releases, and maybe you give your opinion on which one, if they ask, how does this look, or album artwork. All those kinds of things were happening, and occasionally they would ask your opinion, or you could add your 2 cents if you needed to or wanted to, and usually they listen.
And throughout all of that, you were around all of these different artists and learning, again, so many different things. At what point did you take it to another level and decide, now I want to get into television?
Yeah, well, I didn't. That's kind of evolved into that. But after I worked at Epic for many years, and then I went into management, artist management. I worked for a company that managed a lot of artists and producers, and then I kind of broke off and started my own company. And while I was doing that, American Idol actually was just sort of happening at the time. And a lot of these sort of like competitor shows were popping up, and the sort of like TV reality competition show format was growing. So as an artist manager, I was around talent at a record label. I was approached to work on a show by Missy Elliott at the time, who was like the biggest hip hop artist on the planet. And she was so cutting edge and so unique. And I worked with a lot of urban and hip hop artists at the time. So I said, sure, I can help with that. And sort of transitioned into being a sort of a talent scout for a TV show, which is not that much different from being a talent scout for a record label, except you're just sort of, you're not making records, you're not breaking artists, you're fitting them into this format for TV. So it's almost like everyone knows the term A&R, you be an A&R rep for TV.
Finding that interesting TV personality. At the same time, I wonder if having that A&R DNA makes you think about, okay, here's how we could package this artist after the show. Do you ever find yourself in that headspace?
Yeah, that's Sometimes you're involved with the post-show activity of the artist. Sometimes it kind of goes hand in hand. Most of the time, with a lot of these shows, they have a partner that handles that. So, say for like the Missy Elliott show, it was her management company through her label, which I believe was at the time Elektra Records, and they had some situation where they would give the winner an opportunity. So you might be interfacing with those people to help them find the talent that serves that. If they go on to success, it's really kind of a feather in the cap for the show. And you hope that's the end result, because that's what you want to sell to people, or you want to impress on people that, hey, these shows are a viable avenue for success.
You kind of oversee the whole team, right? So what are some of the tasks that you have in addition to looking for talent? You also kind of have that leadership role, right?
There's a lot of names for what I do: casting director, or supervisor of casting, or head of casting. That's kind of all the same thing. You think of a casting director in the traditional sense, where they're finding the cast for whatever production, and then in sort of non-scripted reality, we're finding the talent cast that we put on our show. So that's my role. So basically, it's a combination of managing the team of casting producers and representatives that are out there looking and finding talent. Also, big auditions that we do, which are now virtual, but used to be we'd go out and set up these big giant tours where we would come to cities all around the country and give opportunities for people to come out and audition for us. Whether it's in a small market, we would do these bus tours all across the country, crisscrossing the north to south. And then we would have big stops at big sort of arenas and convention centers and things like that. We call them open calls. We have our online submissions where people are submitting videos to be considered. So it's sort of managing all that and then working with our amazing team. And what we don't talk about is we have to be really proactive in reaching out to artists, finding artists, talking to people. And that's changed a lot over the years too, how we do that. But that's my role, is kind of managing the infrastructure of the team and the process, and then also personally casting myself. You have to kind of get your hands dirty and bring in the talent and find the great talent, and just like everyone else.
By the way, I want to touch on something that I think is always fun to talk about with other producers and even the contestants themselves, is what happened when COVID changed everything and you're not going out to these places anymore to do stuff in person and you're doing everything over Zoom. From your perspective, how has that changed the process, not just technically, but I feel like there's this whole fresh new set of contestants that maybe wouldn't have auditioned if it weren't for Idol Across America.
Yeah, huge change. Seemingly and literally overnight, it happened. Just for example, COVID happened right when our show was actually in production, and we had to pivot to a at-home model in that first year when the world was changing before our eyes. But that's on the production side. But as far as casting goes, yeah, like I said, we used to do physical casting stops all across the country. We go to like 50 cities throughout the summer, or 40 cities with bus tours and arenas, and now that's gone for the most part, and we moved it all virtually. So we had to take that sort of model and build it out online. So in pre-COVID, you would, if you were just sort of interested in auditioning for our show, you would go to our website, or there might be some advertising or promotion in your area. And I think if you get a ticket or you're on a list and you go down or you print out the form that you got from us and you come and you get online and you'll see a live person and you audition. So we still wanted that opportunity for everybody to come audition for us, except we just do it now virtually. So basically you go to our website or one of our social media platforms, you find out when our auditions are, you register online, we send you a link, time, window, and then you just pop on Zoom and you wait in a queue, just like you'd be waiting in a physical queue, and a live person comes on your screen and you audition for them on Zoom. And then that's kind of it, and you're in our mix now, and we meet you that way. So basically we just saved, there's so many advantages to it. There's also pros and cons, like you miss the physical human element of meeting people. The people that we choose for our show, we have met in person, we've gotten to know them, we've shaken their hand. It's like you kind of have the real contact of knowing something. And when a person comes in a room, you sort of get that essence and aura and energy. That's hard to do on screen, but you still get the vibe, but you miss some of that. But so I guess that's what's missing. But on the positive, there's no barrier now. If you're in a location that's not near one of the places we go to, like, and we went to a lot of places, so we did go. If you're in Wyoming, we probably were going to be not, we might go through up there, but like if you're in Alaska or somewhere, it was really hard to, you'd have to come down. You have to find a way, or on the day of the audition, if your car breaks down or you can't get out of work or you're sick or you have a family issue or something, either you kind of miss the boat or you have to go now to another city. So people would miss out. Where now it's like if you're sick or you can't get out of work or you have a class or you're not feeling well, or you have a family emergency or something, okay, no worries. You just sign up for the next one and we'll see you next week because we're going to be doing these virtually. You don't have to physically go anywhere. So the convenience is a huge benefit. There's also like a lot of people might sign up for the other ones, but they just kind of they were on the fence or they weren't sure. Or they kind of just backed out or they got cold feet or just decided not to or whatever. They changed their mind that morning. It's easier for them to just pop on and check it out. And you'd be surprised how many people are like, I don't know if I really wanted to do it, but it was just, I just did the Zoom and it was easy. And I did it from my bedroom or my car, or I was at work at the pizza place and I just went out back and I did a quick Zoom audition. Yeah, you'd be surprised. People pull over on the side of the road, safely, but like people can just find a way. It's easy to do anywhere. So the technology's made it super convenient and accessible for everybody. So that's how it's changed. There's like no excuses. If you don't, you can always find a time. You're not going to miss the boat. We have many of these, and it's essentially free. You just need a phone or an internet connection, and you can do it.
I think it sort of aligns with, even what we're seeing now just on social media, how people's videos are blowing up. And sometimes that's how you guys find your contestants is you're out there, you're looking, and the algorithm knows that you're a casting producer. All of a sudden you see these amazing voices, or you're going and digging yourselves. But when you just find that special voice, I feel like it doesn't even matter what day and age we're in because you've met so many incredibly talented contestants. No matter what kind of setup you have, it's that star power that shines through a screen or in person, right?
True. I think the way we put it is, look, if you can cut through on Zoom, then there's something special. Sometimes, a few other things, like sometimes the sound quality is not great. That's one of the sort of challenges we sometimes have, even though it's pretty good. But it's like, hey, even with all this, your Wi-Fi is cutting out, the sound levels are just not really so great, but you still caught our attention, then you're doing something right.
Going down memory lane a little bit, because I know I'm going to put you on the spot here, but if you had to think about some of those faces that just pop into your mind immediately, those special moments of meeting a contestant because of either what they sang or their personality.
So Alejandro Aranda. Perfect example. He just came in this is when we were obviously pre COVID times. He came to an audition, heard about him, didn't have a huge social media presence or online presence. He was just really talented and very mysterious. And I think we'd actually invited him to an audition the season before, and he just sort of didn't show or wasn't interested. But he just came in, and what you saw on his audition was somewhat similar to what we saw when we met him. He just sat at a stool, very unassuming, and he just did his Alejandro thing. Maybe not to the level we were blown away when we really met him in front of the judges, but we knew something was really special. And also, I think he was washing dishes or something, or he had, he's just like, and I gotta go. He didn't really stick around very long. So it was almost like a mysterious, he came in, he left, he was tired, he got a ride or took the bus. Like, anyway, something like that. It was just like the guy just really stood out and stuck with us. And then when we saw him in front of the judges, it was that and much, much, much more. But that was one that really stood out and stands out. Wow, so many. Gabby Barrett's another one. way pre-COVID, but it was also like we did use Skype then, which was very, very inferior technology. No knock on the fine Skype folks. We would still do that occasionally if someone we couldn't meet them in person. Uh, Very limited, but we met her on a Skype because someone had sent it and recommended her, and she was just this girl in Pittsburgh, and we Skyped with her, and it was the same, like just her energy. I don't even remember the music. I just remember her having this sort of sparkle and this energy and this sass and attitude in a positive way. That's like, okay, there's something special about her. We had a good feeling about her, and obviously we're like, oh, we have to meet you. We want you to come to the judge round. So, and she delivered. Those are two examples that come to mind.
And even just this past season, what happened with Ian, I feel like it was just this incredible story. I heard you talking in an interview about how you're looking for the artist, and then of course the question is, does the story matter? It was interesting to see how that story played into people's affection for him, but at the same time, he did have such a unique quality to his voice and his artistry where they really went hand in hand, and that is why American Idol is about not just the singer, but their personality and the story, because somebody like Ian captured the hearts of America with who he is.
Yeah, that's sort of the secret formula. It's a bonus, the story. I mean, talent really is the main driver. Some people don't have these really unique stories, and it doesn't matter. But listen, it is a TV show, so we were trying to get people to be interested and engaged and invested in these people, these artists, So the story is important, and that's how we kind of tell the story through music and everyone's unique background and point of view. So the story is a bonus. Yeah, it really helps. And sometimes you don't even they reveal themselves as they go. You just find an amazing artist or singer, and the story's secondary. And sometimes it becomes this thing that you didn't even expect or know, or you can't really. If you're looking at an Instagram video, you're not really knowing much about a story, or meeting someone online on a Zoom. You just hear what you hear first before any of that, and that comes usually second. And it's great when it all lines up, and sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes they're just a phenomenal artist and singer. And Gabby Barrett, I don't think she had this story any other than a hardworking kid from Pittsburgh who was just working at it for a long time and had a really supportive family. And I don't remember that being a big focus of her. And then the way they tell it, or the way they reveal it, or the way they just honestly pour it out of them, you can't really coach that. You can't really produce that. It's just sort of wonderful when it happens. Like Willie Spence is another one that comes to mind. Also, we met him on Zoom, and he just, like, that voice and that personality and that spirit, you could just tell when you met him, he's a special person. He's the one that comes to mind also, going back to kind of ones that really stood out. And sometimes we tell stories because people would be interested, but you really do have to have the talent for it to work. Otherwise, we'd be on a different type of show.
As you're listing these names, I remember the first moments, like Willie, for example, rest in peace. That in particular, just hearing the first line, "Shine Bright Like a Diamond," and his interpretation of that song. I can't imagine what it's like for you guys, because you get that first taste of who they are before we all get to. And I think that's probably the most fun, rewarding part of your job, is that you get to find these people and show them to the world.
Yeah, that's the exciting part too. And then and then when it continues and it takes on this life of its own, and people start talking about it, and then you hear other people talking about it, and it's exciting when that kind of snowballs into something really big.
I'm excited about season 22. I can't wait. And you guys already started casting as soon as 21 ended. So is there anything in particular that you're looking for? Is it sort of a broad, like, we want to find that star? How are you feeling? You guys have been really busy looking for the next American Idol. So what are your thoughts on people that are thinking of auditioning for season 22? Because you can still audition.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Well, for American Idol, we never cast for anything specific. Truthfully, we kind of put a wide net out there, and we look for amazing unique, original talent, and then it all kind of falls into place. And we have to sift through a lot, and the bar is really high. So a lot of artists and performers that we really like or that are really good, we don't have a spot for everybody. Come one, come all styles, all genres, all backgrounds, all sounds. We love it. And then also sort of like I have to say, sometimes we don't know it until we see it, and those things reveal themselves when we meet them and see them. And we didn't know we were looking for that, but we were so glad that we did meet that person. The process has become so easy now and so user friendly that even if you're not sure or you don't know or you're inexperienced or you're super experienced or whatever your level is, you can come on and meet us, and we try to make it a really positive. We definitely make it a positive, like I said, user friendly, easy experience for you to come and meet us. And some people meet us and they say, yeah, I gave it a shot, and we'll see what happens. Or I decided maybe it's not right for me. It's fine. Or I want to go for this, even more now than ever after that experience. So obviously go to our website, AmericanIdol.com, or just Google it, and you'll find where our auditions are. They're happening in August. Anybody can audition. We do have an age limit. It's approximately, the dates are actually on there, but it's 14 and a half, I believe, until 28. So you basically have to be 15 by when the show airs in February, but there are the actual specific eligibility dates there. There's other things we've changed too with the show. You can have management, you can have agents, booking agents, publishing deals. Like, we've made it much more open, so we don't limit the talent. We want to have amazing talent, and a lot of times the best talent, they're working with a lot of people, and that's fine. We welcome that. Or you could just be independent, and that's great too. You just have to be unsigned to a label, unsigned artist.
Well, Peter, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you taking all the time to share this insight with us. I wanted to ask, is there any one piece of advice that you want to close out with for any singers listening that are thinking, I might want to try out for American Idol?
My main advice for anyone is to be original. That's the thing that stands out the most. That can come in all different shapes and forms, but be your true self. Like I said, we sometimes we don't know what we're looking for until we see it. But if we see you and you're doing you, and it's different and it's refreshing and it's original, whether it's original songs or an original presentation or just honest for who you are, it really resonates. So be original. And I just recommend that. Like, I don't want to go too far into this, but every year there's like the same trends. It's natural, and we see that over and over, whether it's the same sort of style of song that's of the now, or the same actual song people are singing, or the same look, which is inevitable because trends happen, but you see that over and over, and then someone pops on that's just different or doing something differently. And I gave, like Alejandro or Willie or Jeremiah Harmon. I don't know if you remember him. He was just his voice was so different, and his presentation was so different, and it's just him and a piano. So be yourself, do your thing, be original. It always makes the difference. Also, if you're on the fence or if you're not confident in yourself, it's okay, because sometimes you meet us and we say, hey, you're really good. I don't think you realize that. And that's something that it helps to kind of sort of test yourself and get some real feedback from us, because you'd be surprised. So if you think maybe you have something, we'd love to meet you. Give it a shot.
Wow. You heard him. Give it a shot. Well, Peter, thank you so much for your time. I also want to thank you so much, you and the entire casting team, all the time that you take and working so hard to find incredible talent on American Idol. And I have the opportunity to interview so many contestants, and we, the viewers of American Idol, are so grateful that you all work so hard to find amazing contestants.
Thank you. Thank you for your continued support. And then we love to see all of our previous performers, artists, contestants come on and do shows like yours, because they're still talking about us, and it's made a big impact on their lives and their careers, and you're definitely a big part of helping continue that. So we love to see it. And again, thank you very much for supporting us and being a voice out there that continues just to keep the keep the word alive that we're out there and doing it. So go online if you're interested. You can find us anywhere, and you'll see plenty of opportunities to either meet us in person, or you can also submit a video. It's another thing I didn't mention. You can always submit, and we can see it that way, and then we may call you.
There are so many ways that you can audition. If you guys enjoyed this conversation, make sure that you follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Idol Unaired Podcast. Peter, thank you so much for being a part of American Idol Unaired.
You bet. Talk to you soon.